Hello, everybody. I'm Chris Provost, and you're watching Provost Park Pass. And I don't know what the heck is going on with Disney, and I want to talk about with you guys. I've had a lot of people asking me to break down the last town hall that Bob Iger had with all the Disney cast members and employees, and we're going to break it down, and it's super confusing. Now, you might be wondering where I am. He's sitting here in my hotel at the Desert Palm Hotel right next to Disneyland. Last night, I went over to Disney and I did a whole brand new video on secrets revealed of Cars Land at night. I was just editing that video. I was going to put that video out today, but I got a lot of people asking me to do this video. So because of timeliness, I'm going to go ahead and do this video here about Bob Iger and the town hall they had with all employees, and talk about what he said and what he really means and what's really going on at Disney, because it is confusing as all get out. But before we get started, if you could, you do me a small favor. Go ahead and hit that subscribe button, because when these cool videos start coming out about Cars Land, Secrets Revealed at Night, and a whole bunch of other cool videos start coming out, you want to be notified and see that really fun stuff, that really fun, cool Disney stuff that we all love. So hit that subscribe button, hit that notification bell. Okay, so let's get into it. Disney just had a town hall. It's been exactly almost a year since Bob Iger has come back, since he's taken over since Bob Chapek. And when Bob Iger first came back, he had a big town hall to the employees to kind of let them know what's going on. And now it's been a year, they're having another town hall. Town halls are super important to companies. Now, they're not required. Companies do not have to have town halls. It's optional if they want to do this. But it is a way that where a company can really boost morale. Morale is important. And also, they can also be talking a little bit to the Wall Street, the stock market. And I think Bob Iger was doing that. But I think the message failed, and we'll get into that in just a moment. Morality in a company, morale is just super important. If you have happy employees, then they're going to produce better and do higher and better things. It's just everybody knows that. If the morale of your company is just down in the toilet, then people are complaining, they're looking for their jobs. And Bob Iger is very charismatic, and he knows this. So when he has these town halls, it's kind of like a big, huge pep rally for the company to let them know that everything is going to be great and everything is awesome. So we kind of have to take everything that they're saying there on the stage, peel back the layers, and see what really is going on. And I found this town hall to be very confusing. Here's what happened. Let me go back in a time machine. Let's go back exactly 1 year ago when Bob Iger had a town hall 1 year ago. In that town hall, he said there are 3 things that he wanted to focus on this coming year. 3 things. It's important you know that. And they were theme parks. He wanted to talk about ESPN streaming service, which is still weird. I don't quite understand that one. And then also improving studio business. Theme parks, ESPN, studio business. Those are the 3 things he wanted to talk about. Now, Disney is a publicly traded company, and because it is a publicly traded company, they have to do what's called these quarterly earnings report, and that's where the CEO gets on a phone call and he talks to the investors and lets them know what's going on at the last company for the last quarter. Before we get on this, I need to tell you a little bit about my background. Before I became a goofy YouTuber, I was in the business world for 20 plus years and a very successful career at very high profile companies, high profile positions, and I loved it. And I did very well there. And then YouTube kind of came along in my life, and that was introduced to me a new challenge, and I've been enjoying that as well. I feel like I have a good business sense. So when I look at this, I'm trying to look through a business point of view. So Bob Iger is having he had his quarterly earnings report. And I did a video on this, I think 9 days ago. Keep that in mind. This was 9 days ago. And in that quarterly earnings report, Bob Iger said that there are 4 things that he is going to be focusing on. There's 4 things they have to focus on. Remember, a year ago he said there's 3. Now there are 4. And what are those 4 things he talked about? One is achieving significant sustained profitability in our streaming business. Number 2, ESPN, becoming the preeminent digital sports platform. And then number 3 is improving the output of our studios. And then number 4, guest experiences, theme parks and stuff like that. So those are the 4 things he talked about this. And he said this like 9 days ago. And then he had a town hall, which was less than what we're talking like 30 hours ago. And in this town hall, Bob Iger gets up. Oh, by the way, I got to back up. On that earnings call, Bob Iger says that 2023 was a year of fixing, but 2024 is going to be a year of building. It's important we talk about that. Fixing to building. Now, in the town hall, Bob Iger gets up. He's like, hey, everybody, why don't you know that 2023 year was a year of fixing, but 2024 is going to be a year of building. And he says building is much more fun than fixing, and we're on our way. And then he says that he has 3 things he's going to be focusing on this next year. This was confusing to me, okay? So a year ago, 3 things, then and we talked to the stock market and we were talking the earnings call, he said there are 4 things. And then just 9 days later, he says there are 3 things. And those 3 things are the exact same 3 things he said a year ago. He said that it was expanding theme parks, ESPN, and studio. So maybe in the town hall, he just is thinking of maybe studio and Disney streaming, because he mentioned Disney streaming. Maybe he's combining that back to studio. That was weird to me. I thought originally a year ago, he said they had 3 things. Then when he said the quarterly earnings call, he said there are 4 things. I'm like, okay, he's now parsed out streaming. And then for him to kind of backtrack that, it's weird to me because these are all written. I mean, he used the same language. He talked about a year of building to a year of, and now we're in a year of building, all that stuff. So that was very weird to me that he said this. But then he gets in there and he starts doing his little dog and pony show at the town hall, trying to make everybody feel really good. It's like, hey, everything's going to be great. And it's important that you understand that there is some uncertainty that was happening with the Disney company, because people there was they laid off 7,000 employees. They're trying to do cuts, and I think that the people are a little bit concerned. The employees are a little bit concerned. So here's what happened: is that he was talking, and one of the things that he got asked immediately in the town hall was that in July of this last year, he gave an interview to CNBC, and in that interview, he said that the company was mulling the sale of TV assets while seeking a strategic partner for sports cable empire and the sports cable empire ESPN. So they're mulling over the sale of TV assets and trying to find a partner for ESPN. This was said in July. And now in this town hall, he's backtracking about that. He's like, I didn't realize that people are going to run the story. We are not selling off everything at Disney. He's like, I don't know why people are thinking that. And then he went on to say this. He's like, those comments were indicative of his tendency to run things up the flagpole and just see how they fly. And he goes, I was just thinking out loud. On national television, Bob Iger says that he was just running something up the flagpole about selling the TV assets and finding strategic partners, and it was just thinking out loud. I don't buy that. I just don't buy that. Bob Iger's too smart. That was something maybe a CEO of a small company who has no experience, who might do something, think out loud on the fly, and then Bob Iger's too experienced for that. This is what I personally think happened. Now, keep in mind, this is speculative on my part. I'm speculating here, speculation. So keep that in mind. I think he's floated it out there to let people know, hey, are you interested in partnering with ESPN or maybe buying our television? I think he was putting that out there in a way that was kind of like innocuous. The reason I think that is because guess what happened? ESPN just recently took a very rare step, and they disclosed all the financials. Now, ESPN doesn't need to do that because ESPN is under the umbrella of Disney. So this dome is Disney, and ESPN is firmly underneath this umbrella of Disney. Now, ESPN doesn't need to disclose their financials because Disney discloses their financials as a company, and that's all they have to do. But ESPN recently disclosed a bunch of their financials. They're showing their debt. They're showing how much money, how profitable they are. Why would they do that? Why would they do that if they're not required to do that? I think they're doing that because in case there are potential people out there, suitors, who are thinking about purchasing or partnering with ESPN, they need to know what's going on. So ESPN just kind of discreetly released their financials. This is really weird to me that having this town hall, Bob Iger's like, oh, he just flew us up the flagpole. We're not really thinking about it. Don't worry about it. But then all of a sudden ESPN at the same time is like they released like their financials. It's weird. It's very, very weird to me. Now, in this town hall, Jimmy Pitaro, he's the guy who's in charge of ESPN. He and Bob Iger are talking about that they want to launch this ESPN streaming service. It's going to be amazing. It's going to be super technologically advanced. They're going to help people with like sports, with like fantasy sports, and it's going to appeal to a younger audience. And Jimmy Pitaro's like, we don't want to just launch it because we want to make sure we do it exactly right. And he said this, he goes, what Bob and I have talked about is we don't want to just flip the switch. We don't want to just move our networks over and make them available over the top without significant product enhancements. He says product enhancements. Then Bob Iger said this, and this is why this message to me is so confusing. He says he acknowledged that they are in the market talking to potential partners. So partners doesn't mean that they're going to sell it. That just means that they're talking to potential partners, looking through the lens of technology and making them content. he's talking about ESPN. They're looking for partners for this new ESPN digital platform they're talking about. And then he said this, but the company is also prepared to go it alone if need be. Bob Iger said the company is fully prepared to do so, though he added that without partners, it'd be much more challenging. Now, what the heck is he talking about there, saying that they're looking for partners for ESPN, but they could go alone, and it'd be much more challenging if they don't have partners? Really, you have to peel back the layers. And what Bob Iger is talking about there, he's talking about cash flow, money, cold hard cash. They're looking for partners to do this new ESPN streaming service, and apparently, and fantasy sports service, and all these cool things, apparently, which we don't understand is, but he's like telling people, he's like, hey, if you want to be a partner, we need your cash. And if you get cash, you're going to get a stake in this company of the ESPN streaming platform. And that's what he's talking about. So he says that we could go alone, but it'd be much more difficult, more challenging. What this kind of saying is we don't have the cash flow to do it, what we want to do, our whole vision, without having some infusion, having a new partner come in here. That's why I think ESPN released their financial statements, and I think that's why Bob Iger made a comment about that in July, saying that they were seeking partners out there. And then he says, oh, no, not really, just running it up the flagpole. I think they're strategically fishing us out publicly, saying, is anybody interested in helping us out with our ESPN streaming platform project, whatever that is? Then, after that, in the town hall, Alan Bergman came up and he talked about this studio, like the movies, as we're talking about movies, okay? And in the movies, he acknowledged, which is a big deal, acknowledged that the quality of Disney films has suffered. And while they emphasize the importance of movies for the entire company, this is what Bob Iger says. When it comes to creating perception of the company, nothing is more powerful than movies. That perception among investors, perception among the audience, obviously consumers, and also perception among our own employees. He then went on to say this, a string of hit movies can make people at Disney giddy, not only because the company's brand is elevated within the culture, but also because of the synergies that flow within the company and throughout the business. A movie, they referenced Frozen, a movie such as Frozen can churn out a profitable sequels, boost Disney's streaming service and on Disney Plus, and set the foundation for theme park attractions and jumpstart consumer products. So he's talking about how movies are so important to the Disney identity, the Disney brand, and they admit that they've had a couple of misfires with their movies. That's kind of really all they said. Then Josh D'Amaro got up, did a little. I'm not going to talk a lot about the theme parks. I know a lot of you are interested in theme parks, but the theme parks is doing very well within the company. But Josh D'Amaro says, hey, we're going to put $60 billion in the theme parks. And he even talked about Disneyland. He goes, we have enough land right around Disneyland. If we wanted to, we could put another theme park there if we chose to do that. And so there's kind of like pie in the sky type of stuff. Now, when this call got over, the town hall got over, it's interesting because what happens is usually there's a bump in the stock. The stock goes up, and Disney stock, once this town hall got over, it went down. It dropped about almost 3%, 2.8%. That tells me that the investors are not confident with the messages that were relayed in this town hall meeting. Now, and there are people out there saying that actually Disney stock's been awesome. It's risen 6.8% the last year. People might be touting that. I want you to be aware of what's really going on. So there's a thing called the S&P 500. That stands for Standard & Poor's 500. And what that is, they've taken the 500 largest companies on Wall Street. They put them all together in one little aggregate, and they look at all the stocks of these 500 most powerful companies on Wall Street, and they combine and say, oh look, all those stocks, those companies are all going up and down. It's a very powerful barometer of what's going on. Now, the Disney is part of the S&P 500. Over the last year, the S&P 500 has gone up about 18%. Most of those companies' stocks has gone up at 18%. Disney's has gone up 6.8%. So it's lagging behind the rest of the S&P 500 companies. They're not growing as fast. Now, this is where I'm like, what is going on, Disney? I love you, Disney. I think it's amazing. But Disney has to do a thing. They have to provide what's called an annual report by law. When you're a publicly traded company, you have to give an annual report. It goes out to your investors. And in it, you're very black and white. You talk about what's going on within the company. You cannot lie on these things. And if you do lie, then the company could be sued by the investors. I mean, everything has to be by the book, and you have to say exactly what's going on. It's very important. Well, Disney released their annual report, right? So all these things are happening, right? They had the quarterly report where Bob says there's 4 things we're talking about. Then the town hall, so 3 things, and now we got this annual report. And in this annual report, there was some very heavy language. And this is the first time Disney has admitted that there might be a disconnect between their brand and consumers. And this is a big deal. So let me read this to you. Okay, so in the annual SEC stands for Security and Exchange Commission. That's who regulates the stock market. Okay, Disney told investors that the company's revenues and profits were adversely impacted when our entertainment offerings and products, as well as our methods to make our offerings and products available to consumers, do not achieve sufficient consumer acceptance. Okay, so now keep in mind, they're trying their best to say something in a positive way, but they can't lie about it, but they don't want to put like harsh language. So that's what they said. Just say we haven't achieved sufficient consumer acceptance. What they're saying is that our brand, our consumers are no longer identifying with our messages that we're giving. Okay, and so that's what they're talking about here. Further, consumers' perceptions of our positions on matters of public interest, including our efforts to achieve certain of our environmental and social goals, often differ widely and present risks to our reputation of brands. So what they're saying is it looks like consumers think that what we're trying to do over here and they talked about public interest, they talked about political ideologies, all this, saying that maybe we're not in alignment. This is the first time that I am aware that Disney might, and people have used this thing called go woke, go broke. I'm not here to say that's a whole nother thing, right? I'm not here on that. I'm just saying Disney is acknowledging that their consumers and their brand are at odds, that they're not lining up. They should be lining up, and they're not. They've actually are admitting this in their annual filing report, which is a big deal, okay? And continuing on, so it says, we face risk relating to misalignment with public and consumer tastes and preferences for entertainment, travel, and consumer products, which impact demand for our entertainment offerings and products for the profitability of our business. They're talking about this. There's a misalignment with public and consumer taste. And it says, Disney also said, success of our business depends on our ability to constantly create compelling content. One of our chief hurdles it faces is consumer tastes and preferences that changed in often unpredictable ways. So at the end, they're kind of giving themselves an out. They're saying, hey, we just keep offering the same thing, and the consumer tastes they're kind of saying it's the consumer's fault, right? The consumers changes in unpredictable ways, and we're trying to match up, but we're not getting aligned with it. I think the consumers pretty much have always been the same. Disney consumers are kind of the same, and I think Disney's trying all the different things. I don't really know. This is fascinating to me. I don't understand what's going on with Disney, and it's shocking to me because you got Bob Iger saying 3 things, and he says 4 things to the Wall Street, and then he says 3 things at Townhall, and then he gets up there and says, we're not going to be selling, I shouldn't have said that on a national thing, but oh, by the way, but we're looking for partners, and then all of a sudden we release the financial statements of ESPN, and we also admit that we've had some misfirings on our movies, but don't worry, we're going to end the building phase, and then all of a sudden the annual report comes out, and they're like saying our brand is not lined up with our customers. What is going on? There's a lot going on, and so I think that Wall Street is kind of aware of it. That's why I think the Wall Street stock dropped, the Disney stock dropped at this town hall. I need this to be 100% clear with you guys. This is a lot of speculation on my part. This is me doing my own research. These are my conclusions, and some of it, so this is just my idea. I would love your comments down below. Tell me, Chris, I think you missed the mark, or this is what I've been doing. And I do these videos, and the people come up with their own analysis and put the comments, and I love reading that. And sometimes what you guys come up with is so intelligent, so smart that I completely missed the mark on that. So these are just my thoughts. I don't know what's going on at Disney right now. I'm just confused by this. It seems really weird to me that 9 days ago, Bob Iger would tell Wall Street there's 4 things, then Townhall says there's 3 things, and it's just weird to me. It's just weird. I mean, don't they have a proofreader of the scripts, or what is going on? Do they just, in the last 9 days, did Disney say, oh, we don't care about Disney Plus anymore, that's no longer in priorities, we're not going to talk? What is going on? I don't know. Anyways, hit that subscribe button, hit the like button, and I just want you guys to know that you are amazing. I got some really cool videos coming out here. I got some secrets revealed at Disney. I love our secret reveal video. I love doing history and deep dive into Disney. and we're doing Cars Land at night. I'm also going to be meeting up with some of my favorite YouTubers, and we're going to probably do a little video where I'll combine doing that. That'll be coming out too. I'm excited about that. So hit the subscribe button and hit that bell notification so you're notified when new videos come out. Put it down in the comments down below. What do you think? Am I off? Am I wrong? What's going on? This is just my own analysis. Keep in mind, it's my own analysis. I'm not endorsing anything. I'm just my own analysis. I'll talk to you later. Bye-bye.